was a punching bag. A punching bag for my mother. And for a long portion of my life, I thought that was how she gave love to me. It was a lie. But I moved on and moved away from her, all the way to the Philippines, to help children learn how to speak English. I always asked them if they were okay, and they always said that they were, thankfully. I just kept my eye out for if or when the kids are feeling more off than usual those days. It was all so long ago before I eventually got my hands on an email gifted from my dad, who helped me get away from the freak that was my mom. He said it was somehow a gift. For me? Sent from mom. I just didn't know how to react. I was both confused and very happy for some reason. Like, yeah, my mother was a grade A D-bag, but she gave me something. Fittingly enough, it was some sort of pirated collection of the entirety of season 13 of Family Guy. I watched them, binge ate some snacks, and overall I was pretty happy. But then I scrolled far into the collections and found some sort of QR link hidden within the final episode in the season's credits. Oddly enough, with it having an endless gonging noise playing in the back. I don't know what it was exactly. Give me a bit of a break, alright? Eventually it led me to this forum on Kiwi Farms, which talked about some sort of lost fan episode where Meg dies, which I scrolled through and dug through like I was looking for diamonds. It felt impossible, searching around for something that might have just been lost media. But eventually, I found it. It was on another forum, but everything was in some form of cryptic language. Every word looked similar to D&D dice, having only a few English or Spanish comments sprinkled around. But one comment I found the most interesting was one of the Spanish ones. From what I remember, it went like this. Los incendios esperan, which from what I can remember said, the fires await. I couldn't tell if that was some sort of threat or a shitpost left behind to mark where they were. Either way, I dug up until I found the link. I'm honestly dumbfounded for how I managed to scrounge around within the damn farms and managed to uncover this thing. It felt weird actually finding this. I eventually bookmarked it and waited until the weekend to finally watch the episode. It was pretty scary, not gonna lie. Me suddenly feeling ill in the middle of one of my classes. On the plus side, I got a small break out of it. I eventually got around to watching the episode, and I wasn't expecting everything that could have happened in it. It started off with the intro. Meg looking, oddly enough, uncannily happy, as her smile was big and wide, and it kept increasing in size throughout the entirety of the intro. It just felt uncomfortable seeing it. Seeing Meg's features be distorted in a weird way like that just makes my skin crawl. It later cut to the episode, featuring Meg in front of the mirror. She stared sorrowfully into it, her being tired along with it. She later stood up and walked outside of her room and went to her seat within the dining room. Lois making breakfast for the family before noticing Meg in such a terrible mood. Then, dialogue happened.
Meg? What's wrong, sweetie?
Mom, I just feel... blech. But, do you really want to hear about it, or...
Sweetie, moms are supposed to love their children. That's why I was put on this earth to do. To give what I can to my special little gifts from God.
You mean that?
Of course I do, sweetheart. And I'm sorry if I haven't been the best in a long while.
Meg smiles a tad bit, thanking her mother for genuinely spotting her like that, after all that time. Eventually, Meg gets her school food and supplies and heads to school, heading to it with a slightly pleased expression on her face. Eventually, it hard cuts to Meg within the dining room, before one of her bullies walk up to her. However, this bully in particular, for a split second, looked just like my mom. But it switched to the jock archetype as soon as the second frame was introduced. Eventually, another conversation broke out. Listen, dude, not in the I'm sorry. Huh? Yeah, I got told by my dad to apologize to you for the way I've been treating you. Gave me one hell of a reality check, too. Look, I've been bullying you these past few months, and I'm sorry. Alright, I don't expect you to accept this. I accept it, and thanks, dude. Kinda needed that today. Ain't no thing, Meg. So far, it seemed not too bad, with Meg not being the punching bag this time around. The bully walked off, Meg feeling better this time around. She was eating what seemed to be tater tots, before someone tried shoving her head into them as some form of humiliation stunt. It worked, but no one was laughing. Instead, the entire cafeteria was filled with riled up anger, as the kid who did it was carried away by security. Some kids even walked up to her to check if she was okay, some of them being most likely 14 or even 13. She genuinely was confused on how life was going so smoothly for her on this day in particular. Eventually the day ended, her walking back home and seeing Brian walking right past her. Eventually, Brian looked at Meg and said something, sparking another conversation. Hey, Meg? Yeah? Is everything alright? You don't have to spill the details if you don't want to. It's actually pretty fine. Nothing much happened except for me making amends with a bully. Not much to say, really. Alright, good. And just as Meg was about to step one more foot back to the house, she gains deja vu and stops in her place, looking at the surroundings around her. Flickering lights begin to be heard, as her breathing becomes more and more clear. Did we have the same conversation before, As she turned to Brian, Brian was already facing her direction, his arms now replaced with Meg's, oddly enough. The sky was also flickering as this happened. Brian's facial expression contorted into a horrific grin, which expanded from ear to ear. The lighting was also very good on this, as if the sun is actually setting. But then, it spoke, in a clear female voice. I figured you'd figure it out eventually, Meg. The sky immediately switched to a weird, sky-like texture, holes pushing and quaking as stars peered and disappeared. Meg stepped back, now being on a concrete road that stretched into infinity. A lullaby playing within the background as the thing went from looking like Brian to a near-perfect reflection of Meg, albeit with some unsettling features. The eyes being as small as golf balls, her jaw large and open as black liquid perfectly aimed downward from her eyes. Another conversation broke out, and this is what I remember. I don't get it, Meg. I just don't. What do you mean? Where am I? Shush. Silence now, my sweet little girl. No time for questions. To explain would need to know what happened for this to happen. The entity's eyes expand to the size of what her eyes would normally look like, showing Meg what seemed to be a bit crushed visage of what seemed to be her just taking a nap within a camp. It frowning for a split second, weirdly enough, before it goes back to normal, cutting to Meg as it talks once more. I love you. I love you with every fiber of what makes me just as human as you, Meg. I just made a perfect world, a perfect replica of what you want, what you need. A loving family, people who respect you. Is that what you want? Yeah, but I can take care of myself. Plus, what about Chris? What about Brian? They all don't respect you enough. Meg backed away, looking towards the path she was treading down, it being covered by shadow now, while she looks back at the other side. Meg backed away, looking towards the path as she was treading down, it being covered by shadow now, while she looks back at the other hers side, being a lighter and lighter shade, until it completely disappears into the light. This was her mind, in the physical path towards continuing and not. The connections were clear, and I just had a horrible feeling course through my body after realizing the fact at play. Why else would you think otherwise? You'd be better off without them. Visions begin to appear within the sky. Visions of her failures. Her family laughing at her misfortune. Her family enraged that she got something right and being glad that she didn't. But Meg, after a while, looked down and said something. No, I do. But this is a solid... Shut up! This is what you personalize the family as to try to take the plunge into the dark and let you control my life? Sure, I may be a punching bag at times, but they're my damn family. I'm not letting you change how I think of them. I'm better off without you, is what you think. And if you think you can stop me from thinking that, good fucking luck. They both stood for a long while, the doppelganger finally not smiling. For a split second, I again show my mom, before she had me, and what seemed to be her within her current state, rugged and tired, almost decrepit. I was very confused on why my mom was featured as the split-second frames in this, weirded out by the symbolism of the episode, and how Meg was used here. Fine then. We'll burn down in the flames together. And then suddenly, it hard cut to Meg awake in her bed, her eyes unnervingly bloodshot as she stared at the ceiling fan, before she eventually turned on the light and went to the kitchen, making her some midnight snack of some sort. She just ate there, the episode fading to black after a short while. The credits were nothing short of tragic and almost saddening for the use of instruments with it, as a woman in the back was crying hysterically. Eventually I stopped the video right then and there, and just tried to think. What the hell was it meant to say? What the hell was it supposed to even be? In the end, I was left with more questions than answers. Eventually I watched the rest of the credits. But once it got to the final credit of the sequence, it made me tear up. Made for Raymond Stephenson Goldilocks, from Meg Griffin Goldilocks. And that was Choiceless, written by Alex Codex. Review time. So this is actually a rewrite of a creepypasta from the historical archive, that pasta being Meg's suicide. Meg's suicide is a story that has very flimsy handling on its subject matter, and halfway through the story it switches narratives and it gets worse and worse over time. And all of it, everything about Meg's suicide is just atrocious. But here, it's practically fixed. Everything about Meg's suicide has been redone from the ground up. like, I know it's not necessarily about a suicide, but it is handled much better than the original story could have. And while while I am saying this, there is one thing I didn't understand, but I'll get into that in a minute. So, it is implied in the end of the story that the main character's name is Raymond Stephenson Goldilocks, and his mother's name shares a name with a character from Family Guy, that being Meg. The main character's mother treated him like a punching bag growing up. I'm assuming, like, mentally, emotionally, but alongside all of that, all of the problems he went through with his mother, she did give him something. That being a pirated collection of season 13. And in season 13, near the last episode, there is a QR code that leads to a episode, that being an episode she supposedly created. And in that episode, she personifies Meg as herself, and basically it's a full-on apology to her son, explaining to her why she did the things that she did, and it doesn't justify what she was doing, but it's real. This is very real, because, like, I've come across people online saying that their parents claimed that they turned out fine when they inflicted the same problems on their kid. If you have to do that to enforce your authority, you did not turn out fine at all. In fact, you are just as miserable as they are. And I love this story because it's not just believable, it is very realistic to how abusive relationships went down. And this is such a great way of apologizing to her kid through something that he genuinely likes. She's trying to get his attention that way. The only thing I don't understand about the story is Meg's doppelganger. Like, why exactly does she look the way she does? Is her doppelganger supposed to be some sort of allegory for the corruption of her innocence? I don't exactly understand what that is supposed to entail. Like, I really think there could be some form of symbolism behind her doppelganger. Uh, Alex Codex, I do encourage you to implement that somewhere. That would be awesome. But with that being said, I am going to give this story a 9 out of 10. This was fantastic, man. You did it again. Keep it up. But with that being said, this is simply my personal opinion. We all have our opinions regarding these pastas. What do you think of the pasta? What would you have done to improve upon it? And as always, I'll see you all in the next narration. I love you all. Bless.